Hello everybody, welcome to MrRedClaw, welcome back to some more World of Tanks, where today we are watching first Diesel playing in the Ares 90C. The tier 11, of course, the new medium tank, well, I guess newish, it did come out in the last patch, right? But it is already getting nerfed, I'm pretty sure, along with the entire line. They are slightly OP, you could say, but still, we are going to see what first Diesel does, and as you can see, there's so much damage. Look at that, just a couple of seconds and already 1,200 damage, and that Leopard 120 already just completely just nerfed. You can see why it's getting a nerf. I really hope it's getting a nerf because, I mean, 400 damage to the side of a Type 5, Type 4 just like that, you know, and you're never reloading. That's the thing about this tank. You're always ready to go. Of course, your gun does heat up, as you can see over here. I'm pretty sure this that kind of thing, right? It does heat up, but you can just keep on firing. Yeah, it does go back down after a while. And of course, the longer you fire, the kind of less accurate you become. But still, you don't have to reload. That is just such a pivotal thing in any tank. You know, your E25, it's good because it only reloads for like 2.5 seconds, something like that. This never has to reload. You know, even if you're right at the brink of, you know, overheating, you can still put out that shell out or two to secure the kill. And as you can see, it also has armor to go along with it, because why not? Already up to 3,000 damage, by the way, in the first not even 2 minutes of the game. 1,200 damage blocked, and I was actually surprised, but this actually has a hull armor 100 hull armor, yes, hull armor 120 at the front, 70 at the side, and 50 at the rear, but the turret armor 273 on the front, 101 on the side, and 50 at the rear, which means that it's kind of lackluster 2,050 hit points. Don't really mean much if you get yourself in a really good spot and can just bounce everything, which you pretty much can. And I mean, it's not the fastest, 55 forwards, 19 backwards, but the gun is what's most important on this tank. And as you can see, 1 minute and 45 seconds into this game and already up to 3,000 damage done. I mean, in any tank, any tier, if you finished off like that, you know, 3,000 damage done, even in some tier, even in tier 11s, you know, you'd say, you know, good game, you know, nothing amazing, but 3,000 damage, that is a decent, if not even a nice game. You know, already up to 4,000 damage, already, you know, already 1,000 damage more than we just saw a second ago. First, get spotted probably by that EBR, just kind of YOLOing in, I guess. I'm not really sure if they thought that was going to be arty to kill, but there is no arty, so not really sure that EBR is trying. And again, for this kind of a gun, imagine any kind of light tank, you know, that you know, driving around in any other normal tank, you'd be scared to fire that shell, to waste it, and then have to reload to try and attempt another shell to take out that light tank. In this, you can pretty much spray and pray. I mean, it's not as crazy as like the Czech light tanks, I guess, but it is still quite something. And you know, it's probably even better. Oh, it's definitely better. It's not a light tank; it's a medium tank with all of that armor and everything. Oh, look at that high explosive rounds. By the way, first was firing the APCR rounds, no AP rounds, but you know, well, it's tier 11, 115 damage per shot, and an average average damage per second of 383 hit points per second, with some decent penetration. You know, for a medium tank, you know, it's okay. But from 115, we're going to move up to 220 and pretty much double, 733 hit points per second. It is only 10 millimeters of penetration, you know, luckily for everyone else. But this, or I guess even this FV, the front of the turret, which is, absolutely, paper width turret, is, showcasing as orange. So it's only a 50% chance of penetrating the front of an FV. So, it is, if you do penetrate, you're going to double your damage, but you do have a really, really low chance of actually being able to penetrate. But let's see what first does with these high explosive rounds. Oh, I mean, only a couple went in over there. One actually bounced fully, but that is, what, another like 1,000 damage done into that FV. You just move into position and, yep, there you go, that's the FV done. And you actually get some different crosshair when you're close to getting, close to overheating your gun, I guess. So you know when to kind of just hold back and wait for your turret, for your gun to just cool down for you to be able to go at it again. Now, I am slightly ill, my throat does kind of hurt, so I'm trying to pick my way through it. It's definitely way better than last week for the Lego Star Wars gameplay. I was really struggling to get my words out there. Still kind of am, but we are going to go through it. 2 kills, 7,000 damage done. Now, the most I've ever done in the 20-something thousand games I've played is probably 8,500, something like that, in the Jagdpanzer E100. That was probably back like 4 years ago now or something. I should really play those high tier tanks in order to try and beat that record, but 8,500, I mean, it's doable, but it is quite hard to do. But first it's kind of showcasing what you have to do in this tank. It's not like a frontline assault tank. It's kind of like a support tank, your second or third line kind of support. You're not out there fighting with the heavy tanks. You're probably not out there fighting with, the medium or light tanks. You're trying to circle around, at least not at the start. But then, towards the end, you can kind of go in, hopefully keep as much hit points as you could have kept throughout the game. Go in and then a 1v1 with this tank, just very, very juicy. I definitely need to maybe make my way up these up this tech tree as quickly as possible. There's that gorilla that put in a good shot into the side of first earlier on. They did actually get shot by a BZ-56 as well, or a 68 as well, from the center of the map. There's that gorilla again. Any shots impossible? No. But there's a BZ-T70, and look at that. Just even if you don't manage to penetrate, or the shot doesn't go through, you just keep on firing. And as you can see over here, first didn't wait long. Didn't wait for the gun to cool down, and now has to wait 16 seconds until they are able to fire again. So you can keep on firing without a reload, but when you do overcook the gun, 16 seconds now, that is quite beefy. That is maybe not as bad as a bat chat, it's like 36 seconds, but 16 seconds, a lot can happen in 16 seconds World of Tanks, so you do have to really watch out for that kind of stuff. And as I was just looking a couple of seconds ago, the intra-clip reload is 0.3, so 0.3, every 0.3 seconds, you are firing a shell over here, doing 150 damage, or what was that, 220? Yes, that is just really, really, really dangerous. It's even more dangerous than most tank destroyers. You're only lacking pretty much the raw penetration of the tank destroyers, but still, apart from that, you have a kind of in theory DPM of 21,000. At least that's what it says on the Tanks DG website. I'm not really sure how that's calculated, but I do see that happening. If you do fire as much as possible, this is just absolutely crazy. And the shell cost of 299 with the regular rounds, and with the APCR around 1,800, that does jump up quite a lot. But if you do pen those 235mm AP rounds, 300 damage a shell, a pop, that is not a lot. And that's, I've got that tier 8 Czech light tank, I think they are Czech, right? And they just print credits, even if you do, like 1,000 damage games, nothing, amazing, you are still printing money. And I guess it's probably the same in this, when you aren't just kind of going all out for those AP CR rounds. There you go, you can shoot 2 tanks at once pretty much if one gets in the way of the other one. And you just don't have to worry about, missing shells, because you've always got a 0.3 seconds, just ready all the time. And as you can see, you can just kind of see if you can penetrate the Tasharata, but if you don't, I mean, it doesn't matter, you've got a shell pretty much loaded in as quickly as can be. This is just the ultimate just support tank, but then just the ultimate assassin. Imagine this. I'm not really sure how much you can do, firing non-stop until it, overheats. I'm not really sure if that's a stat on the website. I think that can't be 28,000. That's probably a way to work this out, but I mean, it's probably a couple thousand at least. And imagine doing that much, to any tank. All I'm saying is, as I said, really, really OP. You do have to watch out, of course, limited hit points. But as you can see over there, you just catch someone off guard. A KR1 over there, a tier 11 heavy tank. Probably one of the best tier 11 heavy tanks, or just tier 11s. Full stop. First catches them off guard. Already done 700 damage, and you just keep on firing. Waited over there not to overcook the gun once again, but here we are, guns called off pretty much once again, and there you go, couple shells into the M6Y, a couple shells into the BZ68, and we're still good to go. The T30, yep, can we get him? Yes, we can. There you go, 5 kills in just a really quick game. But this Ares one is just so OP, and that's why it's getting a nerf, but it's so OP. Now you can just do stuff like this, and fairly easy. I mean, you still have to position yourself well, and first definitely did in the right position, firing across from the kind of like center of the map right across to this western flank, and putting in shells along into heavily armored tanks as well, but doing what they needed to do to get a really, really decent game out of this tank. So as we can see, this was actually the 3rd mark of excellence for First Diesel in the Ares 90, so they must have been playing right from the start, because there's probably a lot of players playing this tank, as it's probably quite easy to do well in, but that's also quite easy to do bad in, along with the Czech light tanks. I'm pretty sure the Czech again. You just kind of sometimes feel like you can do everything, and you just kind of rush in and die before the game kind of gets underway properly, and then you can kind of figure out those situations where you're 1-on-1, 1-on-2, and you can kind of pick enemies out like that. But perfect positioning by First Diesel, and probably several more games by them played where they also do quite well, as 3 mark in a tank, quite difficult. Of course, an ace tanker, a Confederate, and a high caliber. For that, 12,270 damage, 5 kills, 15,802 base experience, and not losing quite a lot of credits even with a premium account. But I mean, for this kind of damage result, I'd probably lose double that to be able to do this. Just absolutely brilliant stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye bye.